The American Dream. A childlike fantasy of what the United States citizens are to accomplish in their lifespan, much like a gilded outline. The average American begins their life at the age of 5, being thrown into the worlds of education early. 13 years later, at the age of 18, Americans are to walk the stage, a high school diploma in hand. They're to have a clear, perfect understanding of the path that lies ahead of them. At age 18, one must then further their education by throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars into a university just to gain another diploma that validates their knowledge and credibility within the professional arena. Following graduation, one enters the workforce and works in a relatively similar position until the mid-60s. Once retired, one must live away their life until they're practically lying upon their deathbed. A boilerplate, mediocre life full of people to please and deadlines to meet, deadlines that define the quality of their days. Life as we know it today in America has been confined to a prison of our perceptions of what we think life has ought to be. Today, the problem lies at the heart of the American society that paints the American dream as something everyone needs to accomplish in order to be accepted in everyday life. To explore this further, we will begin by first envisioning the nightmares brought about by the American dream and the problems that it presents. Then, we will dig through the haze of this issue and picture the harm the American dream has brought to the average citizen. Finally, we will drift off into a deep daydream about how we can combat this dangerous ideology once and for all. To begin, let's start by envisioning the nightmares brought about by the American dream that have left some individuals restless in their efforts of conformity. Today, we will focus primarily on two key nightmares that have had a detrimental effect on citizens for decades. Starting off, the American dream is focused primarily on the acquisition of money and materialistic goods. In the eyes of this ideology, success means earning a lofty salary, owning a lavish picket fence estate, and buying only the finest of products. One must have a job requiring years of prior education and at least a bachelor's degree to validate the knowledge. However, such a ginormous expense is not easily feasible for all. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, it was estimated that the average cost at a private four-year university was $37,600 in 2020 to 2021. The American public wants individuals to spend thousands of dollars on education just to find a job that they consider to be decent. Debt often results in doing so, which places college students in a predicament. Society wants students to pour their savings into the education system just so they can maybe gain more money in the future. But when they don't have the money to do so in the first place, students are forced into a position of turmoil. Wealth has become the focal point of American society, which has ultimately stripped our students of their overall sense of worth, accomplishments, and their general feeling of happiness. The second overarching nightmare brought about by the American dream is how it perpetuates society's concentration of wealth within a select handful of individuals. As a result, the American dream is primarily accessible to those only in the upper and middle classes. For lower-class individuals, college is not always a choice, making them stray away from lifestyles considered the norm. Lower-paying jobs often result, which ultimately leaves them at the bottom of the class hierarchy. The rich, on the other hand, can flaunt their wealth freely and make even more money without even raising a thumb. Individuals lower in society face degrees of inequality that makes it difficult for them to advance their position no matter how much work they put into their condition. It's the chronically homeless, the perpetually unemployed, the individuals who are denied the most basic of human rights, who find themselves struggling to climb the social ladder. These individuals, in hands with many others, find themselves struggling to create a better life for themselves, therefore destroying the concept of the American dream for those who need it the most. As we dig through the haze of this issue, it is important to note the effects the American dream has had on the common citizen. As a whole, this ideology has presented an utterly unattainable and false claim that success should be defined in one uniform fashion. Back in kindergarten, I remember hearing a trillion different ways of how to tie the shoe the right way. However, at the end of the day, we all got to the same spot, the bunny went through the hole, and our shoes stayed on for the rest of the day. The similar can be said for the idea of success. Although we may end up at different points, unlike the shoe dilemma of 2011, there should not be one uniform way to define it. Because success for one person can be completely different from how their neighbor views it. Trying to fit a socially indoctrinated standard that only encompasses one idea of success has been seen to have a detrimental effect on citizens who are not able to meet such demanding requirements. From data collected by the United States Census Bureau in 2019, around 13 million US workers have more than one job. This means that 13 million workers are forced to work exhausting shifts in multiple careers just to make ends meet. 13 million workers are forced to sacrifice their sleep, their time with their families, their mental well-being just to make enough money to survive in the 21st century American society. The American dream puts so much emphasis on idolizing hard work under the idea that it will bring you success. But these individuals are working for merely enough to survive. With this in mind, even being the wealthiest of wealthies does not always bring you the guarantee of success. Within the novel, The Great Gatsby, main character Jay Gatsby is the most extravagant man in town, earning a lofty salary and having an extremely lavish lifestyle. However, Arthur Fitzgerald paints the story upon Gatsby's downfall that he was always working on something greater than himself. Ultimately, the American dream has no end. The wealthiest will only try to continue to get wealthier, while those lower in society will continue to struggle while they are the ones doing the greatest amount of work. The level of socioeconomic divide has only risen in our country, and it will only continue to rise the more it is engraved into our daily lives. With this issue on our mind, what are some ways that we can work together to combat the power of the American dream within our everyday lives? Using the acronym WISH, we can look at the ways both you and I can start to fight against this scheme that we may be feeding into without even realizing it. Starting off with the W, wake up from the idea that success should be defined in one uniform fashion. For each and every one of us here in this room, we have different means of feeling accomplished. Whether that is getting an A on that project you spent months preparing, standing up in front of your peers and giving a speech, getting that promotion from your boss, or even just getting out of bed in the morning, feel good about your successes. Celebrate your little accomplishments because all these together will help you bring about your true potential. Moving on, the I in WISH means inspire others to share their ideas of success, especially those of marginalized communities. See how these groups have found their success outside of the constraints of the American dream. It is then our eyes will open to the variety of trajectories we can place our life on in order to reach our goals. Thirdly, the S stands for showing others that success does not have to be boilerplate. Break down the idea of the white picket fence lifestyle and create the narrative for yourself instead. Finally, H represents hope. Communicate messages of hope for those in the community who may be struggling to find their ideas of success. After all, collective community support can really come a long way, as we have all seen with the COVID-19 pandemic. With these 4 key principles, we can begin to wish for a better life unshackled from the ideals of the American dream. In our time today, we have discussed the nightmares brought about by the American dream, dug through the haze of effects brought about by this ideal, and presented 4 main ways we can redefine success as a community. Let's stop focusing on what high school students want to major in so early on, and rather their general interests. break down the pressure of getting accepted into a superiorly ranked college, and praise going to the workforce or into a community college instead. America should not be a place where we have to meet the demands of others. So let's transform the American dream from a boilerplate outline into the celebration of not only you and me, but everyone who calls the United States their home. Thank you.